From downtown Spokane, this is Nightside on 4 News Now.
And we start tonight with a breaking news update. We've been telling you all week about Spokane's first COVID-19 vaccination is scheduled to take place tomorrow. Thanks for staying up with Nightside. I'm Aaron Luna. We now know what time it will be given and who will be the first to receive it. Dr. Ojoho is a Providence transplant physician. He's the first in line to be vaccinated tomorrow morning. Providence Executive Vice President and Regional Chief Executive Elaine Couture will administer that vaccine. You can watch the pivotal event as it happens beginning at 5 a.m. on Good Morning Northwest. Well, there's a growing chance Americans could get a second stimulus check after months of failed attempts to make a deal. Lawmakers now say they're close to a compromise. Kyle Simchuk is looking at the status of a second relief bill, new on Nightside.
Well, so many people need help right now. In just the last week, 885,000 Americans filed new unemployment claims. As it stands right now, the second stimulus check would be half as much as the first.
Help is on the way. That's the message from Capitol Hill as lawmakers signal they're still close to an agreement on a COVID relief package.
I'm heartened by our discussions and our progress.
We're making progress, that's all I'll say.
The roughly $900 billion compromise bill being negotiated would give struggling Americans an additional $300 a week in federal unemployment benefits and $600 in direct stimulus payments. For many Americans, that won't come close to covering a month's rent.
We're going to stay right here, until we're finished.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the Senate may meet for a rare weekend session to finish the relief bill. What's not included? Money for state governments. Governor Jay Inslee says federal funds are nearly depleted.
The new relief package, likeliest to pass Congress, does not provide, and we're very disappointed by this, relief for our states and local governments to help in their services.
President-elect Joe Biden is promising to try to provide more COVID economic relief than Congress is planning once he takes office.
It's a down payment, an important down payment on what's going to have to be done beginning at the end of January into February.
And if this bill does pass, it's unclear when those stimulus checks would go out. However, the IRS says the rollout would be quicker this time around. Aaron.
Kyle, thank you. We're bringing you the latest COVID-19 updates. Spokane County is seeing another shocking spike in cases. 575 more people tested positive for the virus today. 88 people are in the hospital right now with COVID. 196 cases were reported in North Idaho. 140 of those are in Kootenai County. That jump in Spokane County's cases are likely linked to a growing outbreak at the Airway Heights Correction Center. 1,047 inmates have now tested positive since the first case was detected there in late November. That's out of about 1,600 total inmates. 112 staff members have tested positive as well. Health officials say the COVID-19 vaccine couldn't have come at a more vital time. Almost 2,000 doses of the vaccine arrived in the Idaho Panhandle this morning and are being split into 2 batches. 975 doses have gone to Kootenai Health. The other 975 will stay with Panhandle Health District. Panhandle Health is working to distribute those doses across 5 counties. And healthcare workers will be the first to get those vaccinations. Right now, our brains are fogged by pandemic fatigue, but at the same time, we're witnessing a scientific breakthrough of a vaccine developed in just 9 months. The pandemic has forced millions of people to question everything. Health officials haven't been on the same page as politicians, leaving everyone else even more confused.
That creates ideological defenses and divides that create a very unique emotional environment for health communication to break through.
So how do health experts get people to believe that science? Dr. Paul Bowles with Murrow College says it starts with stories like this, explaining how the vaccine works. Pfizer's and Moderna's vaccine are both considered messenger RNA, meaning no virus is actually put into your body.
It is your own cells who are actually manufacturing this glycoprotein. And then when your immune system cells see that glycoprotein, you recognize that as foreign and then attack it.
There have been several reports saying states received roughly 40% more of Pfizer doses than expected. But today, Washington Governor Jay Inslee says the CDC told states it's reducing its vaccine dose total by 40%. Inslee said there was no explanation given, so we're not sure if it's because states received extra, but we will keep following this and we'll keep you updated. An advisory committee for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration voted today to recommend emergency use authorization of Moderna's coronavirus vaccine. This vaccine doesn't need the same cold storage, and because of that, can reach more rural areas. Now the FDA will review the advisory committee's vote and decide whether to authorize the vaccine. It's a decision that could come in the next few days. But just like with the Pfizer vaccine, if the FDA signs off on the emergency use for Moderna, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention would need to give the green light before shots can be administered. A CDC advisory panel is expected to meet on Saturday.
Here are 4 things you need to know about the weather. It's going to be dry tonight across the region, mostly dry on Friday. There's a little system that may bring a sprinkle or flurry around noon, and then more rain and snow, but mostly rain in the valleys Friday night, heading into a rainy, windy weekend. But some nice breaks for getting out and about and taking care of your holiday fun. On our satellite and radar, we have some clouds moving in tonight. Will be mostly cloudy overnight tonight with dry conditions, the last of some isolated showers coming to an end. It's still fairly mild around the region. Temperatures are still in the mid-30s in Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, even up in Sandpoint and Bonners Ferry. We have dropped below freezing in Omak and Colville, but it's still 42 degrees in Lewiston. Right around the Spokane area, 39 for Spokane Valley, Liberty Lake. We're down below freezing in Newport, but it's 34 in Spangle and 34 also in Reardon. Here's a look now at what you can expect for Friday. It's going to be a gray day. We'll bottom out below freezing to start, so wet roads will be refreezing. A sprinkle or flurry in the afternoon, and then we have a lot more wet weather coming in tomorrow night. I'll be back with more on that in just a few minutes. Aaron?
Chris, thank you. Spokane Schools is figuring out how to safely get more students back in the classroom. The district is pivoting its plan in response to the governor's announcement yesterday. But as far as the return for 3rd through 5th grade goes, it will be January before we know more. The state guidelines suggest a return to the classroom for grades K through 5, then secondary schools. That leaves Spokane 6th graders, which are still in elementary school, out of the loop. 4 News Now spoke with Superintendent Adam Swinyard about that specific grade level and when they'd be back in class. He says they'll continue to follow health official guidelines.
On any typical school day, we are following literally hundreds of regulations and guidelines to public health officials that keep our kids and our staff and our community safe. And so we've been steadfast in that we're going to follow what those recommendations are and not start the process of picking and choosing what should be followed.
When we asked Swinyard how realistic it'd be for all students to be back before the end of the school year, he says it's too difficult to predict in a pandemic. Let's toss it over to Keith Osa with some Nightside Sports.
The Gonzaga Bulldogs are back after taking 2 weeks off to try to get COVID under control in their own locker room. Well, they came back, and they came back with a lot of news. First off, they're getting ready to play the number 3 ranked team in the nation, the Iowa Hawkeyes. That's Saturday with only a couple practices together since returning to basketball. Then they announced next year's incoming freshman forward Ben Gregg has graduated high school early and he's eligible to play this year. Oh, and by the way, they scheduled a game with the 17th ranked Virginia Cavaliers, the last team to win a national title, led by Tony Bennett. It's going to be another tough test for this high-powered Gonzaga offense.
You know, this opportunity came up, and you know, it'd be a great challenge. I mean, obviously, Virginia is one of those programs that's, you know, always going to be in the hunt for a number 1 seed year in and year out. And I assume this year will be no different. Tony's just a fabulous coach.
That game will tip off December 26th in Fort Worth, Texas. But of course, that's after the college basketball game of the week this week against number 3 Iowa. That's coming up Saturday morning at 9. That game is being played in South Dakota.
Thank you, Keith. Well, coming up, 2 local restaurants are opening against COVID restrictions. Why those owners of those restaurants say they're okay with defying Governor Inslee. And we get a look at the city of Malden's new fire engine. Also, here's a live look over downtown Spokane. We'll have more wet weather heading into the weekend. Chief Meteorologist Chris Crocker will tell you the best time to sneak out and run those last-minute errands. That's coming up after the break.